Hello, and welcome back to the sim. In this one, we're jumping back in with the HJet now that version 2.1 has released. And we're going to do a flight from here at Teterboro up to Boston. As you can see, our passengers are over by the door waiting to come on board and throw their bags in. We've got the GPU hooked up, so let's hop inside and get started. Coming inside, we're going to first need to turn on the battery and get those yokes out of the way. We're going to go ahead and get the battery turned on, and we can see that our ground power unit is available because we had it left enabled when we shut the plane down. And you're going to find when you head into your aircraft systems, into the sim options, underneath sim options, you can enable the GPU here. And then once you do that, that button over there on the right becomes available. Enabling and disabling the passengers, so whether you will see them virtually once you add them in, those cool cockpit shades, those exterior static elements that we showed, and whether or not the doors are open to the plane. Of course, don't forget to come on down here to the manuals. You can scan or click on the QR code, and you can head to the website and pick up the manuals. So if we look at our iPad, we will find our Simbrief profile. We've already generated that flight. We've got our flight plan set up. We're going to go to 31,000 feet, and we have our route off of runway 24, taking the Rudy 6 departure to Rudy. Then from there, we'll go direct to JFK, and we'll pick up the Roebuck 3 and landing 3-3 left. We'll be doing an RNAV into Boston today. That's all that we're doing with this. It's a great use to be able to see what our burn is, what our weight is for the number of passengers, and what our weights should be, and how much block fuel and cargo payload we're going to throw on board. So of course, 2 passengers does mean 3 people. The pilot is included in that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go 0 in the nose. We're going to throw in our pilot. We've got our 2 passengers, and we need to get it up to 550. So we'll go ahead and throw, I guess, some baggage in the front instead. 560, close enough. And then our weight is 2144, 2120, 2144, close enough. What we could do is enable, let's go ahead and get the MFD coming on. Now, generally, I move the Cyan over to the right-hand side. That way I can run my checklists on the right-hand side. Because the blue is linked to the controls that you can map, and yes, you can find those. There are sim events as well as H events. Those are all listed in those binding documents. Coming over to this GTC, I generally bring it over to the middle. We're going to go back to aircraft systems, sim options. So we're on that page. So we did all that, our sim options. We have everything set up. If you want to, you can go ahead and close those things up. So now that we've got our passengers on board, we can see that we're on board. Of course, the shades are blocking the passengers in the back, so we're going to go ahead and turn off those cabin shades, and then now you can see our passengers seated. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get rid of those static elements. We're going to turn off the static elements, so now those are all removed. And then we're going to keep the GPU, but we're going to close that rear cargo door. So if you come around the side, you'll see that rear cargo door. So if we come in and we close the rear cargo door, now it will animate closed for us. And then coming around to the front cargo door, we're going to go ahead and grab that view, hop inside. We are going to shut that front cargo door. Cargo door is going to close. It's going to latch for us. And when we hop back inside, we're going to go ahead and close up that main door. You see it closing up. And when we hop inside with it closed, we get less noise coming from that GPU outside. So now we've got that all done, we're going to go ahead and jump to our initialization page, run the entire pre-flight as one item. We ran each 3 individual. So that looks like something specific to check. And everything illuminates, and we are good with our pre-flight. So pre-flight is complete. Go ahead, hit back. We got our checkbox. Fuel and stores. So we've gone ahead and we've populated everything. We could hit the sync from sim. This is like a FOB sync, which those do exist. So anyway, so our crew and stores. So again, 170 pounds for the crew member. That's what the HJet populates using those fields. Then when we come over to our payload, we've got an extra 50 pounds of cargo. We got the 2 passengers plus 50. So that's all entered. When we come into the takeoff, we have the fuel synced, so the 316 gallons, making the 2120. So we have our aircraft weight. We come back, we are done. So let's go set up our speed bugs. So we're going to pull the FMS speed bugs based on the weight. So get from sim, sure, FOB sync. These will do the calculations, and we want to enable them so that they will show up on our PFD over here. So when we come in, we can see the 3 are done. We hit accept initialization. We're actually pretty much ready to start plugging in our flight plan. Yes, Simbrief is now enabled, and so you can go ahead and click on that. It's going to pop you out. And of course, you sign in, which I'm not going to show you, through your web browser. You allow it, and after allowing it, it goes ahead and it pulls those in. So if you want to, you can go ahead and refresh your list, see your available flight plans. These are what's filed. There's our KTEB to KBOS. We could go ahead and hit the request, and it's going to pull in that flight plan for us. Of course, I actually would like to enter it manually for the sake of entering it. So we're going to go to the flight plan page. We are going to add KTEB. Really want a QWERTY. We're going to add our destination. Destination, KBOS. There we go. Origin destination, so we have our flight plan. So then we can hop into procedures, go to our departures. We are going to be doing the Rudy 6 and no transition off of runway 24. It's the only runway that you can. If you want to, you can preview this on the map. And so there we can see it previewed for us up on the map. That's going to take us from runway 24 out to Rudy. So we're going to go ahead and load that. So that we've got that loaded, we can come in and we can add our en route waypoints. And if you recall, our en route waypoint is actually direct JFK. So there we are going to go direct to JFK, and then we are going to hop on the Roebuck 3 arrival. So it makes life a lot easier since all we have to do is come in. We're going to add an en route waypoint. We're going to go ahead and throw in JFK. There is a discontinuity because it is a manual sequence. So that's perfect. That is a manual sequence. We will fly our own heading, or if we do have ATC, they're going to come online and they're going to give us vectors. So from here, we're going to go to the procedure. We've already got our departure. We're now going to call up our arrival. We are looking for the Roebuck 3 from JFK, and we are looking to go into 33 left today. So same thing, you could throw it on the preview, throw it on the map, and then you will see from JFK all the way into the Roebuck, and we are looking from Bebog to get to runway 33 left. So that does look correct to us. So we're going to come back down and we are going to load that in. We can go ahead and add our destination at this point. We could go ahead, since we're planning for the approach to be the RNAV 33 left. So our RNAV Zulu 33 left, because we want the LPV. We're going to go ahead and do it from Bend. So our flight plan is fully entered and ready to go. I usually keep that over here. Sometimes I keep traffic here, or what I'll do is I'll put this full, and then I will hop on over to the right-hand side where I will bring up aircraft systems, and I usually also like to throw in one of our other things like our electrical for now, because at some point it asks us what the voltage is when we do our pre-start. So I usually throw that on the right hand side. Gives me a synoptic. And then what I do for generally my maps is I come on in and I go into my map settings, and I have traffic enabled. It is relative to me, not absolute. I want to know how high or below they are from me. Unrestricted altitude range. And I do want the motion vector. I want that on relative to me, and where they're going to be 1 minute after that relative to me. If you prefer absolute, go ahead, throw it into absolute, and that'll show their absolute vector and where they will be in 1 minute, and not relative to where you will be. So those are just things I like to do, and you get your labels and symbols from there as well. I also like terrain. I like my weather radar. In my inset window, we've got the vertical situation display, but you could also do the leg to leg. So if we were looking at the leg to leg, so you see the text, and then instead of leg to leg, you could also go with cumulative, so total route accumulation. I do like the vertical situation display. It's also nice. There isn't much on this one, so we do have a 1,500 foot restriction that we have to hit and stay at NITS. So that's where we got to be, is at 1,500, and then later on we can go up to 2,000 until otherwise instructed. I usually bring my map detail down. This helps reduce things. And then under there, I like to have a track vector. So I know where I'm going to be in 60 seconds, and I do like the range altitude arc. So basically, whatever I've got selected and you're climbing to, that gets you the banana, which we'll see in the air. So I get my map settings set up. I have all that. Traffic will display on it. I had this set up earlier. I actually usually prefer just the standard HSI. I like to see my deviation as opposed to the map. Others like the map, so whatever you may like. I guess one more thing we need to figure out is, since we're in real world weather, I like to come to the waypoint information. Actually, we're running flight plan, so we'll keep flight plan on this one. We'll come to waypoint information here. Current airport, we are going to instead of KBOS, we want to look at KTEB. And we can come down to the weather tab, and we can see that currently it's 29990. So we'll be able to get our weather there. We can come to the chart selection, KTEB, and then of course that's going to, because we're on the left hand side, that is going to call it up on the left unit, the Cyan unit. So we've got everything buttoned up, and we have hopped on to VATSIM, and it does look like Teterboro ground is now on. So let's go ahead, jump in, give them a call, and let's get going. But first, let's hop inside and let's make sure to run our checklist. So coming down here, clicking on my checklist button, of course, brings me to the button page. Before starting engines, battery is on. Oxygen, so we come over here and we push in the oxygen to make sure it's on. Pressurization here. Pressurization panel, everything is norm. Electrical is norm. ELT is set to norm. Nose wheel steering is also set to norm. And our landing gear is down, and our alternate gear handle is in, and our parking brake is set, and our flaps coming over here are up, and our thrust levers are in the cut-off position, and speed brake is retracted. Plus we can see right here speed brake is retracted, so right here on the MFD. And our fuel panel, so that's where we want to come down here, and we can see that we are in norm. So fuel panel is norm. Trim panel, so we want to look for set and norm, so everything in the trim panel is norm and is set. So coming back over, windshield heat panel. So again, on the right hand side, we see windshield heat, pneumatics, and engine bleeds are all in the norm. So that's good. Pneumatic panel, and then glare shield is dark. So that's referring to everything along the top up here. So the servos, and then of course this is all dark here. Chime, that would be this guy right in the middle. He's dark. And avionics, yes, they initialized. We'd already set everything up. So before we start the engines, we'd give our passengers a briefing, which we've done. We would check our rudder pedals adjusted, seats, seat belts secure and adjusted. or set, we should say. So if we come on over here, we can come into our systems, controls, interior lights, and go ahead and get those belts and things all on. We're going to set our cabin lights, we're going to set our cockpit lights, so those are nice, and our display lights. If you need the pilot footwells, go ahead and turn those on there. So, seat belts, doors are closed, parking brake is set, CAS messages, that's right here. They are reviewed. These are all normal, considering we are still on the ground and plugged in. Electrical panel. So this is where we said, come over here. We can see an electrical panel. Our batteries are 25.4, 25.4, and of course we got outside power coming from the external power. So we are good there. Engine start. So we're going to pick the first engine that we want to start. Come back here. We're going to go ahead and hit the start engine. And then click here if you don't have detents set up, and it will pop it out. So now we can see N1, ITT. Looks like a good start. And if you have bindings like I do, make sure you don't accidentally drop them into the cut-off position. So coming back down for the left engine, go ahead, click on the start, and then go ahead and bring in the fuel. And then we'll come up, we see ignition is on, and it is starting, and the starter is in. "20 seconds, and you have a good start." And that ITT holding nicely. All right, so coming back down to here so we can see the right-hand side, let's go ahead and grab our synoptics. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw on this page over here. Let's go ahead and I throw up the status there since I've got time for that. So come back over here and let's go back to our flight plan. So I like to have my flight plan. Everything is ready to go. We've got our traffic, so that's all good. Teterboro ground we're going to find on 21.9. So let's go ahead and bring in 21.9. We'll throw that in. Engine start is good. Engine instruments were checked. Engine NDIs as required. So now we need to make sure we disconnect the external power. So back over here, we can go ahead and go to our aircraft systems, sim options. Come in here and we'll turn off our GPU, home, flight plan, back up. So flight plan and external. And then, of course, the flight controls are free and correct. Before taxi, wing anti-ice, transponder code. So we have not entered our transponder code. So we'll go back up one, and we will hold at this point. And then we're going to go ahead and see if we can hear our friends over on vPilot. Good evening, Teterboro ground, Honda Jet, Charlie Golf, Mike, Tango Tango at signature spot 3. Looking for my IFR to Boston.
Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango, Teterboro ground. Clear to Boston Airport. Teterboro for departure. Radar vectors. Breezy, Victor 39. Carmelville R, that's Charlie Mike Kilo. Merritt, Roebuck 3 arrival. Maintain 2000. Expect flight level 210, 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency is offline, squawk 1615.
We wanted to get off of runway 24. We were hoping to stay with the Rudy 6 departure.
Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango stand.
Okay, well, while he's doing that, let's go ahead and put in 1615.
Charlie Golf 9 Tango Tango, clear to Boston Airport. Rudy 6 departure, radar vectors, Breezy, Victor 39, Carmel VOR, Merritt, Roebuck 3 arrival. Climb via SID, mate, expect flight level 210, 10 minutes after departure, departure frequency 122.8, squawk 1615. Expect runway 24 for departure, advise ready to taxi.
Okay, so Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango is cleared to the Boston Airport. Breezy, Victor 39, Carmel, Merritt, Roebuck 3. Flight level 210, 10 minutes after departure on 122.8, squawking 1615, expecting runway 24. We'll call for taxi. Golf Mike Tango Tango.
Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango revector.
Okay, well, now that that's done, let's go ahead and change everything that we've got. We now have a procedure, Rudy 6, that is correct. However, we are not going to that arrival anymore. We are Roebuck, actually. We are the Roebuck. But we are coming off of Merritt. So we're going to go Merritt. And we'll go back into 33 left. We are going to load that. So now we need a Enroute Waypoint. And that's where he gave us a Breezy. Breezy. And then from Breezy, we're going to go ahead and pick up our Victor 39. And we're going to wait for the exit. And we are getting off at Merritt. Or no, we're getting off at CMK. Wait. Breezy, CMK. We're going to go ahead and load that airway. And then from there, we are direct to Merritt, which is now inside of there. So if we come up and we go to our flight plan options, show flight plan on map. Dialing up the 2000. So we've got our 2000. Let's go ahead and get our flight director on. Heading bug, we're going to go ahead and do a heading sync real quick. And then we're going to fly, throw it to 240. Just so our heading bug is marked. Great. And then we're going to be using takeoff and takeoff. Okay, so 1615, we entered 1615, confirmed. So flight ID is Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango. That is confirmed. Flight plan is now entered. Navigation source is FMS. It is set. Altimeters are 2990. And if we come down here, jump home, jump to waypoint information, airport. No, we want KTEB. Not sure why it's not syncing. Weather is 2990. So we want to come up and we want to set our barrel to 2990. And up here, we're also going to set 2990. So those are set. And altimeters are set. Flaps to the takeoff position. So we're going to put flaps to takeoff. Speed brake check, extended, retracted. Cabin signs as required. We already set those. And we can now release our parking brake. Parking brake is released. And we are ready to taxi. And Teterboro ground, Golf Mike Tango Tango is ready to taxi from signature.
Golf Mike Tango Tango. Runway 24 taxi via Quebec.
24 via Quebec for Golf Mike Tango Tango. Alright, let's not run anybody over. And of course, if you wanted to, you can hop out and see the chart. So I normally do run those charts separately on my iPad to make my life a little bit easier. Of course, all the lights are automatic, so the taxi light has come on automatically. You can look at the synoptics page and you can see those things on it. So if I was to come over here, I can see all of my lights right there. So we'll just stay in this view momentarily, make it easy for everybody to see what we're doing. And we're going to go all the way down, take as much runway as we can. All right, so we would have had brake check, nose wheel steering check, and flight instruments are checked. Yes, turning, life is good. For takeoff flaps, set for takeoff trims. So our trim is right here, so we need a value of 4 or in the green. There is something to be said about having synthetic vision to try to help taxi, even though it's not legal. So we are in the green. Oh, still, okay, let's just stay as we readjust. Alright, so trims are set. Speed brake is retracted. Cast messages are reviewed. There are none. Navigation is set. Flight guidance is set. So, toll data, we're going to hit takeoff. So our takeoff go around. Takeoff briefing is complete. Radar is required. Ice protection as required. So on this one, what we're going to make sure to do is get to LNAV and VNAV pretty quick so that it will protect us on our climb out and we don't mess up our restriction. So after takeoff, so gear goes up. We are going to go yaw damper, verify it engages. Flaps need to come up above 130. Thrust levers go back into MCT. If we're not using the auto throttle, then we will go flight guidance. So that's when we're going to switch over to our LNAV VNAV. And then we'll worry about ice protection and cabin signs later on. We're going to go back. We're going to go home. We're going to go to our chart selection. Let's go to departure. Let's bring up our Route E6. So we have the Route E6 on our map. Great. Now we are good to go. And Teterboro ground, Golf Mike Tango Tango, holding short at 2-4, ready to go.
Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango, wind 340 at 9er, altimeter 2990. No further ATC is available. Monitor Unicom 122.8. Good day.
Monitor Unicom 122.8. Have a great day. Okay, so we're going to go over to Unicom. So 22.8 and transfer.
Morristown traffic, Twin Cessna 5225 Juliet, right base for runway 5, Morristown.
Teterboro traffic, Golf Mike Tango Tango is rolling runway 24 on the Route E6 departure. Teterboro traffic. Alright, so we're going to power up. And we are going to arm the auto throttle. Heels go to the floor. Crosswind is alive. And V1. Rotate. Oof. Oof. That was windy with the crosswind. Alright, gear goes up, flaps go up. And we want VNAV, LNAV. We can still hand fly it, but we are now, at least, there goes, yaw dampener is on. We have V takeoff, so we're going to go into flight level change mode. so that the flight level change will now kick in and get our speeds going correct. So we're just going to fly the command bars. And there it goes, leveling off. Go ahead, get the autopilot on. Let the autopilot now fly this. It blew right through. So it blew right through. It's just so powerful. You got to get on that sooner, especially with the autopilot, so that it'll do that on its own. Okay.
Morristown traffic, Twin Cessna 525 Juliet, clearing runway 5 on Gulf, taxiing to west tie down via Alpha Bravo, Morristown.
So we got somebody out there. So now that we have cleared the Wentz restriction, we climb up to 2,000, where we level off until Rudy. And of course, keeping the speed restriction of 250 below 10. I'm going to go ahead and bug up. So keep the bug in front of us. All right, so we are coming to the manual sequence portion. So this is where we are going to So looking at that, we're going to hit Rudy, and then it's going to fly a heading out from Rudy, where we would be vectored on to our next waypoint. So when you look in the flight plan, we have the manual sequence, so it's going to be a vector to Breezy. So if we zoom out, we can see Breezy's out there to our right.
Morristown traffic, Twin Cessna 5225 Juliet, crossing runway 13 on Alpha Morristown.
And Teterboro traffic, Beach Honda Jet, Charlie Golf, Mike, Tango Tango on the Rudy 6 departure at Rudy. We'll be starting a right-hand turn out to Breezy. That's to the northeast for Teterboro traffic. All right, so at this point...
Have a safe flight.
Thanks, man. You too. All right, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and jump into heading select. And now we're going to go ahead and start a turn on our own. And we can monitor that we are in heading. And now we're on the vector since we're all by ourselves. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and get our flight level 210 that we were approved up to. So we're going to put 21,000 in. We're going to go ahead and hit flight level change. And then we're going to keep that turn coming towards Breezy. And of course, the vector line goes out. So a lot of times I just keep it coming as I'm performing the turn. Get myself on a vector for Breezy. So of course, the climb mode is going to go 210 knots. That's the standard climb rate. So it's going to pitch up for 210. The auto throttle is going to basically give us max continuous thrust for the current conditions. All right, so now that we are on our way there, let's come down here to our manual sequence. We're going to go to Breezy, and we are going to commence a direct to Breezy. And so now that we are direct to Breezy, whoops, we didn't hit the direct to. Now that we're direct to Breezy, we have a new line, so we can come up and we can enable nav mode again. FMS goes green. We're still in VNAV flight level change mode. We have no more restrictions all the way up. So if you wanted to cancel VNAV and just stay to flight level change, that's fine. But there is no difference at that point. Those things should be fine. Okay. So autopilot stays on. So let's go ahead and let's continue with our landing gear went up, verify engaged, the yaw dampener was, flaps, thrust, guidance, we did all that, and cabin signs as required. We are in the climb, we haven't leveled off yet, we'll go ahead and leave those signs alone. They're rich, they can ignore us if they want to. So pressurization, looking at our pressurization system, we are in the green, our PSI, all of our information is still in the green, landing field elevation of 65 feet is there. So altimeters are going to be set at 18,000 to standard. Oh, by the way, as you can see, the cabin power, turn that on so they can plug in their iPhones. So after we started the engines, that relay automatically disconnects. And if we come over here to our synoptics, we can see that the taxi light is off, the landing light is now off, recog is on, ICE is off, strobe is on, beacon is on, and nav lights are on. Those are purple, magenta, because they are in the norm or automatic mode. So we are looking great so far. Is in our chart selection, at this point, we want to be looking at our arrival. And so we want to look at our Roebuck 3 into 3-3 left. So now that we've got our Roebuck 3-3 left, we come over here and we can see the Roebuck chart. Obviously, having the charts myself on an iPad makes life a little bit easier. But effectively, there is our chart and it's up for us. On our VNAV profile, we can see where we're going to reach our top of climb. So it's going to be a little bit after Breezy. We'll be rounding out and top of climb near Volu. So once we're on the airway. So we're approaching standard barrow. We're going to go ahead and click on the knob here. That will put us into standard barrow, and with 2.1 you can click on the barrow here and it'll automatically set to 2.9 as well. The right hand side is synced, so it will standard barrel already. So there we go, we are starting our turn at Breezy. That beep tells us that we are 1,000 feet to go, and there we are leveling off. So we are in our cruise, so our altimeters and our altitude, those are both set, and our systems, we can monitor them. So we are good to go to the next checklist. That'll be the descent checklist. So looking down at our checklist, on the descent, we're going to be making sure that the landing elevation is set. We can see that it is already set because it's 65 feet. So if we want to, we can go ahead and check that off. And engine anti-ice, looking at this, outside air temperature, looking at our ISA, we're not going to need any engine anti-ice at all, but we will be holding off and resetting our altimeters. Alright, so we bring up our chart, we're good to go, and as we rolled over, the speed switched to our best cruise speed of 270 knots, and now the auto throttles up to MCT to get us to that. We can see we're already grounding 380 knots. We do have a tailwind of 45 knots on us, so it does look like we are going to have a fantastic flight. So now that we're established in the cruise, we're going to go ahead and make a call up. En route traffic, Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango Honda Jet is flight level 210 on the Victor 29 from CMK. So we are going to be picking up the Roebuck 3 arrival at Merritt. But as you can see with the chart, and then if you go into the pan and scan, there are lots of altitude restrictions on the way down through the Roebuck, which is great. We're going to use VNAV. That's going to get us down, and we won't have to worry much about it. On it, we are going to be going down to about 8,000 or 6,000, 5,000. We're getting, BBOG is 6,000. So because we can go down to 6,000, we already can go ahead and turn down our altitude select down to 6,000. That will be, for now, BBOG, what we can do. Let's see what the weather is for the altimeters. We'll write that down and have a copy of it. And so if you remember coming in here, we can hit the home button. We can go to waypoint information. We're going to go to airport. KBOS is there. We're going to look at the weather. And the weather there is 2987. And our wind is 324 at 9, gusting 14. So again, that's perfect. We're landing 33 left. So that's good for us, but we want the 2987 when we're ready for that. So I usually leave this open as a reminder to still pick that up. We have our chart as we need. And then from here, we can see that we are going down on our approach. So if we show the chart and we show the 33 Zulu pop out, so we put that chart up here. So we can see it's going to have a minimums of 216 feet on the LPV, so I normally will put in 220. So let's go ahead and jump to our utilities. We're going to go to minimums, Barrow, 220. You can put 216 in if you want. I always set it just a little bit higher. So we've got our minimum set, and over on the screen we will see that Barrow minimums 220 feet is set up. We don't want to forget we also need to do our speed bugs. At this point we could load it in, set it all up. So that's just going to pull in the weights. You may want to double check that again. I like to have something in so I don't forget, though some people like having them off so that they can see that the V speeds are not present. It's all about what you like.
Hudson Valley traffic, Charlie Alpha X-ray 75 is entering the area from the Powling VOR at 2,700 feet, Hudson traffic.
So continuing to actually look, if we continue to look at that chart, we'll see that we're going to go all the way down. Uh, 1,500 at Nimoy. So we're going to VNAV our way and make sure that we set that for a little bit below 1,500 so that we will go all the way down on the VNAV for it. So let's go back to our map. So coming up here, we're going to take that altitude select and we're going to go all the way down to 1,500 for now, unless somebody comes on ATC. So we'll put it to 12. And we're going to go ahead and arm our vertical nav mode. So VNAV is armed, VPath, and if we look down here, we can see we are 6 minutes out from our top of descent. So we're going to pass Ruzi, and then right around Allen, we are going to pick up our top of descent. So here what we're talking about is merit. That part is not to scale. So even though we've crossed merit and we're on the way to Ruzi, we're not going to show up geolocated yet because we are not actually in a to scale area on the approach plate or arrival plate. So there you can see we just popped in. So now we're somewhere within the scale parameters for that section. So you can see we've come out of that little box. That little box is the not to scale box, so it hides the plane until you come outside of that dotted line. Now we're into the, I guess, the to scale section of it. So that's good. We're looking good. And we've got our altitude, we've got our VALT, and we are on our way to Ruzi. So vertical track, so that means we are 1 minute out. We also see the vertical deviation bar coming in from the top, so that'll be our vertical path coming down. When it comes in, we will join up and commence the descent. We want our altimeters set. So to do that, if you recall, it's best to come in to our waypoint info, call up our airport. We're going to go to the weather page for KBOS. 2986 is what we have. So we're going to come up here, and as we're coming down through, we're going to go straight through. There is no stop. As we look at our vertical path, we see we do not stop below or before 18,000. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and put 2986 in here, and we'll put 2986 in the backup as well. So those are in, and our right-hand side is linked to this barrel control as well. So the first officer is not, or first officer, the right side pilot is not separate from the left side pilot. So normal descent, those are complete. It's coming to our next briefing. So seats, seatbelts, we've left those up. Passenger briefing, sure. We're landing soon. Turn your seatbelts on, stop going to the toilet. Cabin signs, we never actually took the cabin signs off. And so avionics are currently set. So we're in FMS, we're on the V path to altitude V, low enough that we can go the whole route. And this is our next hard constraint at 12,000. So our landing data is set and confirmed. So yes, landing field elevation, and we have our baro set, and we have our RNAV approach loaded in. So if we come back down here, we go to our flight plan, we can see that we have our approach. So we are going to be on a manual sequence from BOG. So when ready, or when cleared for the approach, we will be sent direct Ben. So we're going to have to come down and manually deal with that when it's time. So for now, we come back up here. So landing data is good. CAS messages, check. Approach briefing is complete. And flaps will go into the takeoff approach mode. So we'll hold the line here and come back to it when we are getting ready for that. So of course, quickly looking in, you can see as we are approaching here, we do have a speed limit that 260 at Roebuck. We got to be 250 or less under 10,000, not below 11,000, but our hard constraint is between 12 and 11 at Cran. So we don't have to worry. We seem to be perfectly fine there. In Boston Unicom, Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango is on the Roebuck 3 arrival for runway 33 left. Currently 5 miles to Jody. We're close enough now, fuel-wise, shouldn't be too bad. So we're going to go to speed bugs. We're going to re-get from sims, so those values will still stay. We're going to turn those all on. We come over here and we verify that, yes, our speed bugs are set, 116 and 111. So looking at our chart, this is probably an easier way than trying to stare at it in the plane. We'll just look at it on the iPad. As stated, there we are on Jaina, going for Ansley. So Ansley 240 at 8,000. So coming back into the cockpit as we get about trended for it, it's going to go ahead and roll us back to 240, and we're going to hit that 8,000 at the same time. And if we zoom in on our map, we can see where Babog to Ben, that's where the manual sequence is. If we want to, since we have no ATC to clear us, we're going to go ahead and we'll jump down here, and we can kind of cheat it by taking this and removing the manual sequence. That is going to link Bebog and Ben. So now you can also see that now we get a full complete calculation, and the VNAV does not stop there. And now we see our rounded out turn.
The traffic marking 7184 is established on the localizer runway 27 at Logan, 13 miles out.
And Logan traffic, Honda Jet, Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango, currently at Ansley on the RNAV Roebuck arrival. We'll be joining the RNAV 33 left from Ben. estimating about 3 minutes till the start of approach.
Last aircraft on frequency. This is American 7184. We will be on converging runways as we are descending for the ILS 27 Boston Logan.
American, I was American 152 tacking last time, and we just departed runway 33 left. I think we are no factor for you.
In Logan traffic, Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango. Yes, we do have the American on the ILS on TCAS. You are far, far away from us. No worries at this time.
Thank you, sir. American 7184 now 7 miles out to 7 Boston Logan.
So we're going to come down now. Let's go to our chart selection and let's grab our approach. We can come up, we can see our approach starting at Ben. We can see that we are headed for Ben. Not really worried about that at this time.
Boston Logan traffic, American 7184 now on 3 miles short final runway 27 Boston.
And now we drop to 210 knots. So we can go ahead and throw in our approach flaps, but we can't put flaps 1 until we get to 200 knots to put our first notch of flaps in. So there we go. We are now Barrett Brog. We're waiting for the B-Bog to switch to Ben. Now we're on Ben. We're going to go ahead and we have to wait. I think it's a weird thing. We should be able to arm approach right now, but it is not considering us yet, I guess, turned far enough to be on the approach. So we got to wait just a little bit longer. Boston Logan traffic, Honda Jet, Charlie Golf Mike, Tango Tango, 5,600 descending on the RNAV 33 left. We should be arriving in about 5 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and put out our first notch of flaps, which does drop this to 150
Boston traffic,
knots.
American 7184 is clear of runway 27, taxiing to the main terminal via Kilo.
And so there we go. We are dropping to 150 knots. And as we slow up, of course, we're about 5 minutes to landing. So now we've crossed Ben, and at this point, approach will arm the glide path. So until you've crossed that first initial approach fix, it doesn't seem to allow us to arm the approach, which usually on your way to it, once you're direct to it, it should arm it, but good enough. Boston Logan traffic, Honda Jet Charlie Golf, Mike Tango Tango, currently over Ben. We are now on the RNAV 33 left, showing about 4 minutes till touchdown. Boston traffic. Now we're just on our descent. When you look in here, you can see that the glide path diamond is sitting just above us. We are nicely below it. So we are descending down on the path all the way to Duke at about 700 feet. So our Duke 700 is where that is. And then we're looking for an LPV of 216 feet, or in our case, we put in 220 for minimums if we don't have view of the runway. Obviously, there's the runway. And glide path is now captured. Came close enough, so we got a little bit of a pitch up, and we are now on the glide path. Arduke is 2 mile final. So on the chart, we can see that Arduke is 0.9 to the 1.1 nautical mile map, which is, I guess, used on the LNAV VNAV, or the LNAV approach minimums. So it's a total of 2 miles from Arduke. So at Arduke, we're going to go ahead and get our last stage of flaps out. And as we approach Arduke, we'll go ahead and drop the gear. Now, realistically, we could have left the flaps up for quite some time on this one. It is a far out approach. We could have left the flaps up and came in at about 170, 180 knots, managed the speed. But we're just letting it run through the paces so we can see exactly what the HJet 2.1 update gives us. Logan traffic, Honda Jet, Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango is 4.5 mile final, runway 33 left. We'll be going to general aviation, so we'll be rolling out the length of the runway. All right, and 1 mile to Arduke. We're going to go ahead and throw the gear down. And we'll go ahead and throw out flaps. And now you can see the FMS speed is coming down to 116 to bring us in for our speed point. And just waiting on those minimums.
400. 300.
It's doing a good job keeping it.
Minimums. Autopilot.
Autopilot, yaw damper. Yes, the yaw damper could stand, but I kick it out. I like to fly the plane myself.
100.
So I got the yaw damper, and we close out the throttles over the fence.
50, 30, 20, 10, 5.
Oh, we floated. Floated it, but we're going down to the end. I could have closed the throttles out much earlier. And the speed brake definitely went out on its own. And of course, then the speed came down. And so there, it extends because we tapped the brakes. So the speed brake extended, though. We've got a nice rollout happening, so we don't need to worry about it. We're going to clear the runway here. Go ahead and get our flaps up. And we'll clear the runway. Boston Logan traffic, Honda Jet, Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango is clear of runway 33. On Alpha, we will be taxiing to general aviation via Alpha. Well, this says Bravo, actually. Alpha Bravo to general aviation for Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango. Logan traffic. Okay, so we got off on Alpha. Now we're on Bravo. All right, so flaps went up. Speed brake is retracted. Of course, we could stop if you wanted to. You could come down here. You could go ahead, go to the info page, go to the airport page, so that you then had your kind of taxi map, and you could see that we were headed up to general aviation. So we're going to just do that, and away we go on Bravo. Perfect. So there we are. So let's go ahead and let's get our parking brake on. Parking brake is on. And we're going to click here and here to shut down both engines. So now that both engines are shut down, and we go into Systems, Sim Options. So we can come in, we can enable our GPU. With our GPU enabled, we can come over here, get the ground power on, give our people back their power in the back if they so want it before they get out. So we're going to go ahead, get those cabin shades in, get the static elements, get the front door and the cargo door all open. So we want to wrap things up, and I always finish things off by depleting the plane exactly as if I was leaving it. So normally I come on in here, and even though these things are all on, I come back to the load manager and I drop the people out, I drop the pilot out, and I get rid of all of the baggage so that everybody's gone. And then we head over to our sim options, and we can go ahead and get the doors all closed up, and we can leave it. So with the doors all closed up and those all taken care of, normally come over here, turn off the external power, and then we turn off the battery, and we pull the supply. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this one. If you've made it this far, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, come along on the next one. We're probably going to do the Vision Jet. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.